Your quality of life is ultimately dictated by your standard. What is your standard of life? What is your standard for yourself? What is your standard for the friends around you? What is the standard for people in your life, for your woman, for anybody in your life? What is your standard? What is your standard for your pay? How much will you accept? What is your standard? What will you not go beneath? Right? So if you have a standard for yourself every day, it's a lot better than not having a standard, because when you don't have a standard, you can slip and you won't even notice it. But if you had a standard, you'll start to notice, okay, I'm dipping underneath what my standard is. If your standard is right here, right? Let's say your standard for the day is you got to work out, you got to read a book, you got to learn something, you got to create content, and this is your standard, right? You got to eat a certain way and you got to wake up at a certain time. If this is your standard, right? You've set it at your stand as your standard for yourself. Now, if you are supposed to wake up early and you wake up later, now you're dipping beneath your standard. If you're not supposed to eat a certain type of food and now you're eating it, now you're dipping beneath your standard. If you are not doing the things that you set out to do, like create content, you're dipping beneath your standard. And slowly you will start to realize, okay, I'm slacking on this. I must be going in a rut or something. I'm slacking on this. Let me hold myself accountable and let me get back on my shit. And that way you can start to, meet the expectations that you have set for yourself once again. Now you can say, okay, I've been slacking. Let me go ahead and check off the list, make sure I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do so I can be right back up here. And on the days where you do a lot more, a lot extra, you are going over your standard. So that means that over time, your quality of life will improve if you are doing more than what your standard requires. So if your standard is to work out an hour a day and then you work out an hour and a half, now you're doing more. If your standard is to create one post, maybe one video for YouTube, and now you make two, now you are exceeding your standard. If your standard is to wake up at a certain time and you wake up earlier, you are exceeding your standard. So having a standard in your life is pretty much a guideline for how you should be living your life. Because if you don't have a standard, you don't know what the fuck is going on, bro. And I've been there. I've been at a point where I don't have a standard. And when you wake up without a standard and without a plan, it's easy to just drift in life, right? Wherever life takes you. You don't have a plan for when you wake up. You wake up in the morning, check your phone. Maybe you'll leave the bed after 2 hours. Maybe you'll leave the bed after 3 hours. Why? Because you don't have a standard. But if you had a standard, wake up. Maybe you get out of bed right away. Maybe you check your phone and then you get right to it, right? You got to work out. Okay, you get up, you go work out. You got to eat that food. All right, you go and you eat that food. Why? Because you have a standard. And the same goes for women who come into your life. If you're dating, you won't see the bad quality of women. You might see them, but you won't experience them to the other level that other men are experiencing them. Why? Because you have a standard. This is how you expect women to treat you. And if women are treating you beneath that, you understand this woman does not meet my standard. So I will gladly remove her from my life. So that's why, guys, having a standard is so important. You got to have a standard for yourself and you got to have a standard for the people around you. Because if you're holding yourself accountable and you have a standard for yourself, why would you not hold the people in your life accountable? If you have full accountability of over yourself and then someone comes into your life and one of your standard is to have respect for your time, to respect you, to not talk negatively around you, and you allow someone into your life to start doing all these things, who are you really disrespecting? You're disrespecting yourself because your standard is up here, but you're allowing these people to be down here and still be around you. You got to remove those people from your life. Remove them from your life. If you have a standard to be up here and then the other people in your life are just gossiping, not working out, constantly doubting you, constantly talking bad about you, putting doubt in your ear, all these things, bro, remove those people from your life, because you have to have a standard, and then the people around you either meet that standard or they can go. Because I promise you, it's better to be alone with your standard, and then eventually you will find other people who are on the same mission as you. Eventually you will find other people who respect your standard, and they have a standard for themselves as well. And now you have people in your life who uplift you, who motivate you, who talk positivity in your ear and aren't trying to doubt you, aren't talking negative. You will find those people, but it all starts with you. It all starts with you having a standard for yourself and how you wake up. What time will you wake up? What will you eat? What foods will you eat? What workouts will you do? How many times a day will you work out? Will you read a book? Will you listen to audiobooks? See, one of my standards is to listen to audiobooks for the majority of the day. I'll listen to music here and there when I'm, working out, but one of my standards is to listen to audiobooks for the majority of the day. So if I'm in my car, my standard is to listen to audiobooks, right? So that way, my car is basically like a university, because we spend what? We spend like 2 hours in our car a day, and you multiply that across the week, 14 hours in a week times 4 for a month times 12 for a year. And now if you're constantly feeding your mind with Audible, and this is not no sponsor or anything, but with audiobooks in general, if you're constantly feeding your mind, now you're going to grow. Now you're going to improve. Now if you get on here, you have more things to talk about. You have more things to talk about with those in your life. You have more gems that you can apply to your life to see your life improve. So that is my standard. And if I see myself listening to music all day, I say, what are you doing? Your standard is to listen to audiobooks, because it's easy to just listen to music all day. And my standard is to listen to audiobooks. So the moment that I see myself listening to a little too much music, I go ahead and turn it off and I click on my audiobooks. Why? Because my standard is right here and I can't be going beneath it. So guys, develop a standard for yourself and you will see your life improve, all right? Peace out, guys. Let me know what you think down below.